So this is basically that, only a more finished, the next stage. It's already been quenched, it's already been tempered, normalized, all that sort of stuff. Took a sandblaster and blasted all the forge scale off. So this texture here, this is no different, no dressing, no anything, it's just blasted off. I've seen a ton of demos, but I haven't seen anybody do a handle of the demo. So I kind of wanted to show that. Again, if I can teach anybody anything, there you go. We've got a lot of epoxy here, and I want to get rid of that quickly. I can sit here and chase this all day long, or I can put it at the bottom and go until I see sparks. When I see sparks, I've hit the steel. This stock is a little bit thicker on this opposite side than here. So you can see this, it's just pieces of wood I had around. And this is actually a good thickness, but I want to bring this down. So I'm going to reveal the steel, and I'm actually going to sand that flat, trying to bring it pretty close to the same. Decently flat, decently profiled the same. We're going to start here at the top. So we're going to figure out how thin do we want that to be. Now, if this is half inch and you want it to be quarter inch, one of the best things to do is take a quarter inch piece of steel, lay it next to the blade, and mark it. And I think I've got something similar to that. This isn't quarter inch, but it's a little bit thinner. So what I'm going to do is actually I'm going to mark right here, kind of aggressive. I'm going to carry that mark over onto this side of the wood. And now this is going to give us a little bit of a mark here. We don't really want to get any thinner than that, but that's going to be a guideline. And we're going to do the same on this side. What we're the hold your palm, you see it's kind of concave, so you're going to need more mass in the handle right here in the center of your palm. So you figure out where that's going to be, kind of hold it, and for me it's going to be about right here. Actually right where that brass pin is. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to make a mark up from the brass pin, so we can see it, and over on the top. I'll go ahead and go all the way across. We're going to do this on the other side. And I'll go ahead and mark this other side. Very edge of where this is marked, we're going to roughly draw an angle over here to the center. And what we're going to do is, with the knife flat here, we're going to remove all of that wood on the other side of where we've marked. We're going to basically thin it out kind of at a sloped angle. See, we basically have a nice triangle formed in here. So we're going to not hit here, but remove everything on this side. And we're going to go flat top and bottom of the blade. It's going to be all the way down. See, we've got it thinned out pretty good. I left a little more mass at the top than where my line was. I felt like it needed just a little bit more. But that's so what I use is I ground to the line instead of where the line was going. I ground to it just because I need a little more mass. And again, if you're grinding this, it's good to pull it off, put it in your hand, kind of feel it. Pull it off, put it in your hand, kind of feel it. Where this starts to indent will be where your pinky goes. Now, if you need a bigger handle, obviously we don't have a bigger handle, we can remove a little bit of this blade and give your hand a little more air. It's just kind of, how you feel. For me, I'm probably going to do that. I'll do that after the handle. So we're going to start grinding in where the pinky area goes, which will be right here. Okay. We're going to have the knife go sideways. We're going to mark where the area needs to be. We're going to have the knife go sideways. We're going to grind in the dip. So we're going to kind of indent it a little bit. And the indention's going to taper because your hands, as they grip, they taper. So we're going to grind in the divot and then slowly rotate it this way. We grind in the divot and slowly rotate it this way. First, we're going to kind of mark it on the top side as to where that'll be so we can say so that's the whole side. We're going to, again, measure this where our flat hand is. It's just going to be right here. And we'll trace that all the way over to the top side. This would be kind of where our indention goes. And again, we can adjust the angle if we want it real sharp here. If we want it more of a taper, how you hold the knife on the ground. And if you want it more towards the pinky, you get it here. We're going to work on it. We're going to kind of keep feeling it the whole way. Once you do a couple hundred of these, you can literally, you know exactly the method. it up a little bit, but I wanted to stop and actually make a note here. So you can see how it's starting to take shape. But one of the things you'll notice is a lot of people are right-handed or left-handed, so you're dominant. And what you have to do, you can actually see real good here. You can see how I'm kind of deeper on one side than the other. So this will be a point where you constantly look at the knife and adjust. And this will be when you make light touches to adjust to try to get as even as possible. If you need to mark, here's where this side is pronounced, mark over here. And you can look at the side and try to make that match. You can actually clearly see I'm down here and up here. So what I'm going to do is put this on the grinder and actually kind of even that out a little bit, kind of watch it as it goes slowly. And then this is still kind of thick right here. So I'm going to actually start rolling the end towards the blade. And what we'll do is against the side, once we've got our dimensions the same, where it's kind of on both sides, we'll actually start to slightly roll it in. And that's going to be putting a taper in where your hand will naturally go in. And we're going to end up doing that all across the blade. But we're going to start here because this is the one that's the toughest to get. So yeah, basically what I'm going to do is take these bits out and then start actually smoking. And after we do this, we're going to fix the blade a little bit. We're going to sharpen it. We're going to blacken it. Better in the hand. And that's pretty good. So what we're going to do, because of the nature of this particular thing, right here where it's indented, we can't necessarily sharpen it or grind it down on the slack bone. So what we're going to do is actually, right here when we ground this in, we're not going to put a lot of pressure, but we're going to rest it up here and just slightly turn. We're trying to take out these sharp points here. But while we've got this 36 grit, before it gets rid of all the 36 grit, we're going to go ahead and do this. We're going to do this here too. So you saw the pattern where I was actually rolling it, kind of listening to the sound. We're going to do that here, but with light touches, because remember, we've thinned this out quite a bit. We don't want to go too terribly heavy. You go too terribly heavy, you're on the steel, and you're like, what the heck? So what you're going to do, a lot of people to figure out their stance, put it here, actually lean it in just a little bit. You see how that gap sort of disappears? That's where you're going to actually want to start sharpening. Now, as it's removing stock, it's going to, a gap's going to appear here, but, to start with, you're going to want to bring it into it and try to keep that exact same as best you can. The grinder's going to make you move, but do your best to keep your shoulders and your elbows in. And you're going to move strictly across, and then as you get to the point, you're going to see it pulls away, so that's when you're going to pull it to you, just a little bit. So basically, again, this is over-dramatized, but that's what you're doing. And this, again, is pretty sharp, so we're only going to do maybe a pass or two per side. That side. And I'm going to do the Moran edge, and then we're going to move into blackening the blade. But basically what we've done is we've taken any secondary angle out of there. We've removed it completely and made it a steep slope. We see one side was forged a little deeper than some side, the other side. This is probably the side I hammered on, this is probably the anvil side. So we're going to blacken it, and then we're going to put a final edge back on it and strap it. We'll be done. This is some heavy grit steel wool. And working in circles, there's pits, there's everything like that. We'll try to get the loose stuff off. Turn around, we'll do it this way too. This is basically gun blue. Perma blue and super blue mixed with filtered water. Still, yeah, you can absolutely use it still. And then what we have here is straight up ammonia. And what that is that will actually counteract the acid. So we're going to spray this, and you're going to notice it's going to start turning a little black and a little foamy. Now we're going to spray it on the handle here. You can get it on the hands here. See how it's turning very black? On areas like this where it's very shiny, just kind of take it and rub it in. Basically, that probably means there's a little something on the blade, like a little finger oils from me touching it. So we'll just kind of wipe it away and then spray it a little more. But you see how it's starting to turn black here? The foamy stuff is just where it's working. It's a controlled patina. It's a controlled rust. And one of the ways to keep a knife from rusting is you go ahead and rust it on your own terms. So what we got here now is, again, the ammonia. And this stuff sucks. Because we're going to spray a very liberal amount of this all over this blade. Here, you want to make sure you get everything. If you don't get everything, you're going to come back and you're going to have a little bit of a rust forming. And you're going to have to do this again. Take it. And then we'll go ahead and just kind of dry this off a little bit, see what we're looking at. If it hasn't edged too terribly deep, we'll just kind of scuff it up and do it again. And you can see how it's a little black and there's a little bit of high spots. And the next step is what we have here. This is something called free wax. It's beeswax and carnauba wax mixed with a little bit of color. What will happen here, this is a liquid, but as you start to rub it into the steel, it's going to start to dry up, it's going to start to solidify. So what you're going to do is you're going to use your friction. You're going to continue to get it all angles, back and forth, left and right, circles, everything like this. And we're going to start rubbing it. And you see this is get it in here. And we'll try to do this over here. So rub it on there, give it a second, put a little bit on this side, a little bit more on this side. And you're going to watch it, and you're going to notice it's going to start drying up a little bit. You can see it's actually happening already. What we're going to do now is just put that final edge on it. And I'm going to show you guys a little trick for doing stropping on the go. And then we have a sharp and finished knife. This is a cheap way of stropping. If you don't have a leather strap or you're looking there, this is an old 800 grit belt that I've had forever. It gave its life. It died gracefully. So what this is literally basically turning it inside out. So that what would normally be touching the butt and the wheels and everything is now going to be here. What I've done is impregnated it with oil. You can do the same thing with buffing compound, but I found that buffing compound will really cool off and make a stiff belt. This is just basically oil or motor oil or something like this. This is a cheap way to strap it. This keeps you from having to take your leather and your buffing compound and go back and forth. I actually prefer that method, but if you're in the shop, you gotta make a knife in a hurry, or you don't feel like you got the time to dedicate that, this is a good way of doing it. Now there's no grit on this belt. That's gonna roll over the edge, and what that's doing is the burr, the very edge of this blade where you sharpen it and then it starts rolling one way or another. If you ever see chefs take the homing strop and they're doing that, so what they're doing is they're taking the burr of the steel, moving it back and forth, and getting it sharp as they can. They're basically moving it back and forth and either straightening that up or breaking it off. That's why we're going kind of flat and letting the belt rise over it, because it's basically going to push that steel. Then we're gonna go this side, this side, this side. Eventually, we'll be good. I feel like that's pretty good, and actually wearing a little oil, feeling kind of oiled up, you know, kind of beefy.